Hello and welcome to the latest ARCHLine.XP webinar. My name is Zoltán Tóth. Over here is our resident architect, Mr. Illés Pap.
Hi there.
Today we talk about ARCHLine.XP Live. Slogan is, your design comes to life. Now what does that mean?
Well, today we will talk about ARCHLine.XP Live, which allows you to literally generate still images and video files in an instant. And also multiple different versions of the same thing at a time by using your own design in ARCHLine.XP itself. ARCHLine.XP Live itself is a separate application which can be installed and purchased separately. You can find it on our homepage and download it. Today we will talk about how you can turn your BIM model, your 3D design, should it be an architectural or an interior design model, into something which is actually fulfilled with live, with details, with spectacular results.
Let's take a look, shall we? What do we have on the screen?
Well, here we have actually a visual, but as you can see, this is not just a still image. This is actually an animation, a video file, or a series of still images. We will talk about how you can turn your design into something like this. So this is the result that we would like to achieve by the end. I'm closing this, so I go back to ARCHLine to talk about how you can turn your 3D design, your BIM model, into something like that.
How do we get started? What's the first step?
The first thing, obviously you will create your model anyhow. When you design your BIM model, you will have the 2D drawings, you will have the 3D model, continuously developing both. If that is an interior design, you will have a detailed interior. This model actually features a detailed interior and an exterior as well. So sometimes you also create a little bit of the surrounding as well around, as you can see, and also a few details like the materials and so on. Now, obviously, this is something that I would see when I create an elevation view, or this is the model that I will use for the sections as well, so for detailing and documentation as well. Now, the highlights that I would like to talk about when we talk about the visuals is the surface itself. If I right-click on the surface and I click on Find Material, I can see that this material is actually a wall surface. This wall surface is determined in ARCHLine as a render style. So if you go back and we use these render styles here, these are something that you can easily, let me just make this a little bit larger. This is what you can easily click and drag and say that, for example, there is a frosted glass surface there, so you can just click and drag in there, and then you just determine that all sort of similar surfaces will be frosted glass surfaces, for example.
So this way you can set up the materials. What other things you can set up which would identify how the model looks like in life?
Well, talking about the materials, there's one specialty here, because we have wall surfaces, we have glass, we have metal, but we have one specialty here at the backyard, which is actually water surface, this here. When I right click here and I say, okay, let's just find this material, this is already determined as a water surface. Now this will be a very visual result in the end, so I just wanted to highlight that. And also there's the flooring and so on. So talking about the other details, just as you mentioned, we also have views. I just saved a few views, like the external view, also like the internal views. Now this model features a detailed interior and a detailed exterior as well, so we will talk about both in both aspects, but as you can see, whatever you have here is already determined as separate perspective views, and we would like to make the visuals from those perspective views. There is also another thing, which is the light source itself. I mean, lamps, artificial lights. Here there are lamps featuring spotlights, point lights, and all sort of surfaces will be lit by these artificial lights. Those are also in the model, just like as normally I would put them there. And also about the sunlight, you can set up the north direction for your model, and also you can check the, based on the geolocation, you can also check the shadow simulation. Now you can set up a date and the time easily, and you can determine what sort of shading conditions you would like to see this model in. Not just in ARCHLine, but this will also have an effect in the 3D visual in the ARCHLine.XP Live.
One other thing that we have to set up is the animation paths. Now if you could just open up the 2D, we see that there are certain splines over there. Now these lines signify where the animation path was defined. Can you just click on it to see what the animation looks like at the moment?
If I right click there, we can see that this is of actually this is a 5 seconds animation. We won't talk about how you can use this tool, how you can set up an animation. Those tools appear here, and we have a separate video webinar about this, how to create that. Now we just use it as a ready-made thing that we previously defined. We have a few animations here, actually 4 in this model, if I recall. And then you can just browse through these animations, and you can even save this in a visual style like this here. But in ARCHLine.XP Live, you have a much better visual representation of the same thing in a very short time.
That's correct. So we have this all neatly prepared. Now we are going to wrap the whole thing up and send it towards ARCHLine.XP Live.
Let me just start it, and then until it happens, you can.
Now, mind you, when we do this, it takes a bit of a time, but this is something that you only have to wait for once, because what happens now is that the software takes the whole model, wraps it up as a 3D model, and pushes it towards ARCHLine.XP Live, which is going to open up in a separate window, but hopefully we will see soon what the end result should be. Now, one thing to point out right off the bat is that this renderer engine that we are opening up right now, ARCHLine.XP Live, is a GPU renderer. Now, what does that mean?
Well, the difference between GPU renderers and the classic renderers, which actually ARCHLine.XP itself, the design system, also features, is the speed and the quality. Regarding speed, classically, the classic renderers, the CPU-based renderers, which is the one that we talk about, which is built into ARCHLine, is a bit slower. It has ray tracing, it has global illumination, delivers a very good result, but it's a time until you get the final result, and it takes iteration to find the best solution. It's a very good tool, but when time comes very important, then a GPU render could be a very good option. Now, what we talk about is based on your video card, the graphics card, and that GPU delivers instant images right when you see them on the screen. This is actually what we talk about. This is how, by default, the ARCHLine.XP Live layout looks like. You have all those views in front of you. You can, and this is not just a still image. You can just select any of those views. Let's just select, for example, this one, and see it's actually traveling through the glowing, reflective surfaces, and you don't have to wait for that. And the very good thing in this, that these are not only views, but those are also already images
so you don't have to you don't have to manually save them, but you can whenever you click on an image, it's already created. So these rendered images are already there. So even if at this stage you want to send it to your client, you can do that. Obviously, what we'll do is that we are going to elaborate the model, but even at this stage you have images, and you can even have videos which you can send to your clients for the project coordination.
Yes, even at this stage you have reflections, artificial light, sunlight, surrounding, and everything else. So these are also something that I can already send as a quick image of my model, and then when I close this now, we will focus on detailing a little bit that. So I'm just highlighting this, that there is a full screen icon. To make this full screen, I will use this application now in full screen, and this is when we see the whole model stretched to the full screen of our computer.
How do we get started? What's the first thing that we do?
First things first, let's just go through what we have. I already talked about the views that we already have. These are all the views that I defined in ARCHLine.XP, the design system itself. So those came through easily. I can discard any of those if I don't want, or I can just find a better view and start working with that. Talking about the materials, I think this is what we first mentioned in ARCHLine, that there are those surfaces, for example, the wall surface here, which was determined to be a wall surface, and that is the option here. In the middle, there are 3 option pages, settings pages. The one is the materials, for the materials, lamps, and also for the right-hand side navigator here. So if I turn on the materials properties, I can see that when I select this is actually a wall. This information came from ARCHLine.XP, the design system. I can even make it a darker tone, or change its reflection, roughness, and so on. And I can do the same thing with the metal surface. I can do the same thing with a glass surface, for example. Also, the same goes for internal materials like textiles or floor surface. And a very big specialty, I think I just mentioned it previously, that we have a water surface at the background.
Let's take a look.
So let's just go there and let's just find it. This actually is not just a texture on it. If you just
it's
looking
moving
closely, it's actually moving. It's animated. So ARCHLine.XP Live understood And this should be a water surface, so it should reflect and react to its surrounding, moving and blown by the wind. So this is what we can see here now.
Now, what happens if you want to change the textures, or I mean the materials, to something else?
For example, this here I prepared to be forgotten, let's say. This should be a metal surface, but in ARCHLine I forgot to set it correctly.
Might happen, yes.
This can easily happen. This model is large, so I just select it, and when I click here, I can see that, well, yeah, it's general. So instead of making changes for the reflection and roughness and try to figure out what a good chrome looks like, I can just easily go there and select chrome, and this now appears as a reflective surface. Let me just see here. Now you can see that over there. And actually there's a very easy to use tool when you would like to focus on an item. You can just select it and push the letter F. This is for focus. So you can easily see that this is now a detailed chrome surface with all the reflections around, and I think this gives a lot of detail into it, even if this is just a little detail of the design.
I understand that there's a built-in library of materials and objects of ARCHLine.XP Live. How do we use them? What do we use them for?
Well, as we are already here at the pool, let's just talk about, for example, the water. Now, what you talk about is the navigator. This is something that you can easily turn on or off. You can turn it off here, and this features 3 separate pages. We will talk about these. The first one is the library, the built-in library of ARCHLine.XP Live, featuring high-quality materials and detailed objects. This here features all the materials that I already had in the original ARCHLine.XP model. When I modeled it in ARCHLine, all those textures, those are coming from the design system. I can use them. I can just click and drag and use that surface over there. Also, the last one, which we will talk about, are the artificial light sources. So, talking about the existing materials, like what we have here, the built-in materials, those are separated into separate libraries, and we have a water library featuring, for example, a water pool. And if I like this, I think I like this better
I
than
think
the
it's
previous
a good result.
So I can just keep it. I just click and drag, and when I release, the software will change it on that surface. Now the same goes here with the grass surface, yes. So I can just find some in the environment. So I just use, for example, this one. Yeah, it's over there. So what I did, it's just click and drag and release, and that's how you change a material over.
Just drag and drop.
Yeah. Now let's just focus to the entrance, because there are a few things that I would like to change here. For example, this is actually a concrete walkway. So I just use a concrete material. See, it's very detailed. All the little particles and all the details make this very realistic. Also, there is something like the flooring or the stone floor, for example. I can use, for example, the cobblestone, which is a nice and very detailed,
yes,
nearly 3D surface. As you can see, it has these depth and really detailed visual. If I don't want that, I can just undo that step at any time. Or for example, I think for this design, this concrete tile matches better, so I just click and drag. And you might realize that now when I change this, it's changing only on this surface, not everywhere where the same material.
Yes. What if I want to duplicate the changes?
Well, for example, if I have this this surface everywhere where the same material is, I can use the all instances mode. If I enable that and I click and drag it here, see now it changes everywhere where the software found this same exact specific material. Now, in this specific case, I actually don't want that because this still remain asphalt, so I just undo this step, disable the all instances mode, and I just quickly drag this material onto that surface, but you have a great control over what happens by using that all instances mode.
Can you show us some examples for an interior part of the... maybe if you could go into the house, see a few examples of how to change the materials to something else.
Yeah, okay, so here, well actually I have this this surface, and by the way, we didn't talk about navigation yet. When you navigate through the model, when you use the ARCHLine.XP user interface and you would like to zoom in or zoom out, you actually use the mouse just as you would use in the design system. You just scroll up to zoom in and scroll down to zoom out. Also, you can just right click and keep that holding to look around. Now I release the mouse. You can hold the mouse wheel to pan the content. And also, when I hold my mouse over here and I hold shift and I hold the mouse wheel and I move the mouse, I actually rotate or orbit around this selection. It's actually not selected, my mouse was there. So this is how you navigate. So coming back to the original topic, we talked about the materials. Now I'm using the built-in materials, so I just go to the wood library and I just click and drag this one, and I can easily change this surface to something like this, for example. Whenever this change happens, I can just easily tweak it, or I can just use a surface material, for example, for the floor surface. Let's just zoom here and find a flooring, and just click and drag this one over there. See, now it's a very detailed wooden floor.
Yes.
If I zoom in, we will see even the cracks on the floor.
Yes,
but
the
if this is, I think this is a little bit
too clean, maybe.
too clear or too bright. So I just use a different one. So it's a bit more glossy. And as I zoom in, you can see the details. It's very nice. It gives a lot into the realism of this design.
Now, let's talk about the whole idea, bringing the design to life. Now, what are the factors that can do that? Well, how can we make this image pop?
We talked about materials. Those already bring a lot of detail and life into, especially when we talk about the water materials.
Definitely.
Now, talking about other items, those are actually the objects that you will use, and those are in the navigator, in the object library. ARCHLine.XP Live itself comes with a built-in object library, and focusing on the interior now, as we are here, I'm just using the decoration folder here, and in the decoration folder, I just click and drag, and again, when I release it over a surface, it actually drops there, and when I just orbit around, you can see it's how nice and detailed this object is, and it still remains smooth and easy to navigate because this software is tailored to do so. Now we are using one of the biggest makers engine around the globe. They are making very good stable great engine, which is the Unreal Engine from Epic Games, and this features this great realism and also all the details that this move handling.
What other configurations can we place? Because typically when it comes to vegetation, flowers and decoration elements, they have many surfaces. So the idea here is that these things you shouldn't place and build into your model while you're modeling in CAD, because that takes just too much processing power. However, this engine just takes it as a piece of cake. It can visualize it in an instance.
I don't want to see them on elevation views. I don't want to see them on sections or something like that. So this is the best place to use ARCHLine.XP Live to enrich the content that you anyhow designed in a great detail, but bring that detail here in the live environment. By the way, I didn't mention that, for example, if you have something here that you just drop there but you don't really like it now because you changed your mind and you would like to remove it, it's a very easy thing. You just select it and hit delete, and then you can just find another one and just place it over there.
Let's just stop here for a second. You saw that when you were deleting that element, it didn't happen instantly. That's because every 20 steps, the software makes an automated backup of your project. They make an automated save. So if your design just stops for a second, that's because it's saving.
So actually, we could see that prompt appearing here, that autosave was done. So this is what happened. So now I'm just filling in details inside the interior. I could use pillows on this couch, and now I think this is the best time to focus on the exterior as well a little bit. So how to detail the exterior with all those.
Yes, let's see. Maybe some items. Maybe this is a street. So how about some cars and people passersby?
Okay. So I will use, for example, this black car. I just click and drag over a surface, and if I like it, I keep it. If I don't, I just hit and erase, or I just place it again. But again, this is a situation which sometimes it would be great to be able to fine-tune it. I couldn't find the best position for the first try, and it is a very simple process. You actually just select the item, and these options here, these commands here, are for moving a selected item, for rotating a selected item, and to rescale it. For example, if you have something you would like to make it a little bit larger or smaller, you can rescale it. Now here on this car, I perhaps would like to move it a little bit to the side and to the road. So I just use the move command, and automatically these axes, these modification tools appear. Whenever you move your mouse over one arrow, you can actually just click and drag your model over that direction and also towards the street. And also let me highlight that you can not only move into one direction, but if you move your mouse over these connectors here, this allows you to move it, snap to the, for example, in this case, to the ground. If I just click and drag, I can just move this item over the ground parallel to it without varying to lose height or just change it in an unwanted way.
Perfect. How about we tilt it a little bit, because that way it would nicely align with the curb.
We have a gap here, yeah. So if you would like to do that, you just click here, and you use the main axis. You can rotate it here, or to the side, and to tilt it a little bit, and to fine tune the position like that. And I think it's much better. So the same thing I can do when I just turn the mouse over here. There is an entrance here, so I will just drag a sedan here. I just select it. Again, I rotate it. I can move it, find the best position. Also tilt it to the to this path here. The same thing I can do with human characters. I can just put this person here, approaching his car. There will be another person here. Moving at this location, but I think now the direction is not the best, so I just select it and I just click here and I rotate it. So as you can see, it's actually a detailed 3D model. It's not just a paper cut. It's a real 3D model, detailed enough to support the visual and further boost its realism.
Let's keep talking about vegetation, because we have talked about flowers and objects you can place inside. How about some external items? Trees, for instance.
Yeah, well, actually, I think this tree shouts for trees.
Yes.
So we should add a few.
Too much concrete.
So this here is a built-in tree library. We have a very rich and detailed tree library here. There are human characters now. They're helping you to understand what will be the size of this item when you click and drag it here. The placement is just as the same as I did here. I just click and drag it here so it appears there. By the way, typically trees are items that you would like to place a bunch of those, not just one or two, but perhaps 4, 3, 7, 20 of copies. So in that case, you can use this continuous placement very well. This option, when you turn this on, and there is a selected item in your navigator, you can just click on a surface and it appears in an instant. As you can see, also let's just place a few copies over here and here. And see now again, there is a autosave happening. So there was a little stop by, but it's actually just a few clicks and I can easily fill up that model with detail. I can just make it a little bit
how about some bigger ones?
Yeah, a little bit bigger ones, or just various versions of the same tree species. Let's just place it here. Also larger ones like this here. So I can easily fill up, and as you can see, those are a lot of details.
Many surfaces, yes.
I accidentally placed one here. So
now, what do you do then? Do you undo it or delete it?
Well, there are options. You can undo it. If it was in the undo, you can undo it. But if it's not, or you're not sure, you can just select it and erase it easily. Now let's just try to add a few more details here. I just click here. Again, continuous placement. Let's just place one here. I think there should be another one here, and a larger tree over there, a larger version of this one over here, perhaps a nice sakura over here, and let's just go with a tinier version of this one over here. So this is how I would easily detail. If I don't like the position, I can just discard, I can undo, or just fine tune it the way I want.
How about some shrubs?
If I talk about, if I would like to add those, I just go back, I go to the plants, and I can just place a few over here, like this one here, or I can use the continuous placement to place a series of those. I can just find a few flowers over here, not placing all the way the same, or just rotating a few of those. So this way I can add those extra details, and I think I like this view as well.
I was about to say, maybe we should save this as an additional view. How do we do that?
Yeah, this was not originally in the original view. Yes. So if I would like to add this, I can actually push this button here, and the software will automatically create a new view in this list. And from now on, I have the original view, it was this one, and I have this new view. Now, I have one issue with the original one. It's not literally an issue. It's just as you can see, the photograph was taken when it was generated. But if I would like to update this with the latest changes, then I can just click here, and then now it's updated, and obviously the files are also updated, so I can easily send this version to my clients.
That's perfect.
And it was just 1 second.
Now, if we can go back to the previous view, when we have the buildings in front, how about we change the sun position? Because you can do that apparently.
Yes, that is at the top of the screen, on the right-hand side, you have 3 options, and those are the trays appearing at the bottom. The first tray is the default tray as the snapshot, which is by default on. If you disable that or enable that, it appears there. There is the second one, which is for the animation. We will talk about that. And there's the third one, which is the sunlight. And those settings came with the model when we pushed the ARCHLine.XP rendering, ARCHLine.XP live option. All that information was shrunk into this file and opened in ARCHLine.XP live. So that information, I can see it there. I can easily change the sun location by click and drag the date and the time, and I can also click on this one to play this animation to either see how it works or to give my client a nice and spectacular animation. And at any time I can stop it. I can also see and change the north direction, and when I find a nice setting, I can overwrite the previous view if I want that.
Now, speaking of sunlight, how about we look at some artificial lights? We have a bunch of lamps in this model. How can we control them? How can we adjust them?
We have all those lamps. Let me just focus on this part. I just select this this roof here, and I've hit F on my keyboard because I know that there is a light source here. It's actually a lamp with a light source. If I select this and I enable this option, this is the Edit Lamps and Lights option panel. If I select this, I can see that this has a regular light source which I can turn on and off, and as you can see, all the reflections automatically update in real time easily. You don't have to re-render it, you can just go back there and update the view if you want. Also, you can change the intensity of this light, and also you can change the color, the tone of this light. Let me just go with this one. Well, I think it's a bit too much. So let me just dial that a little bit down. So yeah, I think it's better. It just gives a little tint to the result. And there is one last setting about the helper light or real lights. I will talk about this inside.
Yes, maybe there's a better example for that. Maybe upstairs.
So let's just go to the first floor. Yes, first I mean the ground floor. There was this detail which we talked about already, and there's a lamp, a pendant lamp here. If I select that, I can do all the same things, change the intensity, color, and when I change this helper light, look at this wall. If I change this helper light to real wall, see it now, the shadows cast over there, and also on the desk. Now, why is that ARCHLine.XP Live automatically generates helper lights instead of real lights? It's because helper lights give you a very good result, cheap, I mean it's very, very fast. But if you use real lights, those give you more realistic results, but it can slow down the calculation process. So when you have a lot of light sources, it would be a very, very tedious demanding thing for the computer to calculate. So by default, ARCHLine, whatever light source you had, it will automatically convert it into a helper light, and then you can decide, like for example, this lamp should be a real light because I like that that shadow around. You can do that with a few light sources, but don't do that with all of the light sources.
Let's head upstairs. Let's take a look at the lights up there. There's a few examples we can use there. Maybe the helper light you can demonstrate on that reading lamp.
Yeah, for example, here I can add a little bit of extra detail by just simply selecting this and change this from helper light to real light. So see now there's the contact shadow. Also, if I would like to change these here, I can just click here and change their tone, their color to something warmer. And I think this for this light source, for this lamp here, will give a very good result. Let me just go with this one. Yeah, I think it's much better. It's more lifelike. It's very, very simple and very easy to handle.
How about turning off the lights all at the same time? So all of them switching them on and off. How do you do that?
Okay, those happen in the navigator. If you enable the library panel, this appears as a library panel of the navigator. But the last page is the artificial light sources, and this features the enable all lights option. And if I disable and enable, you can see even the indicators are telling you that those are all on or off. And when you select one light source and you disable that, you can easily tell that actually we have a lot of light sources now, but I can easily find it because it was turned down over there. And I can actually use this indicator to literally handle that as a handler. I can also find one, turn it on or off, and also in this list I can just click on it and the software will zoom into that. So if I don't know where are those light sources, I just click on them and the software automatically zooms to that surface.
How about some more natural light sources? I'm thinking of candles and campfires, for instance.
Okay, so we actually have a candle here, and those are things that you can find also in the library, and those are the third option here. Those are the effects. And now here we have a candle light. You can just click and drag it over there, and see now it's giving you that that nice trembling effect. It's a very tiny effect, but it gives that sort of lifelike touch to the design.
Also outside, I think we have a campfire out there.
Yeah, we don't have a fireplace here, so let me just demonstrate that here outside. I think we have a fireplace over there. Let me just zoom there. So I select it, I press F to focus, and then I just fine-tune the position and I use a smaller fire. I think that's cool. I just hit escape to get rid of the selection. So now that is part of my visual.
Okay, question is, so far we created images as an export format. What other ways are to show our clients what we have done?
Yeah, okay, so the images are there right away. If whatever you do when you update, those are there in an instant. Good quality, high resolution images that you can send over to your clients and easily update. The other thing is that we covered at the beginning, that was the animation, and we defined already those animation paths, and I talked about this page, which we didn't cover yet, and that is the animation page for our animations, which we already had. When I click and drag my mouse, see, this was the one that we started with. I need a little work here. I didn't bring in details yet. I will load up the final version when we already placed those items. But I actually have the front, which was this animation, the second animation. And this, I think this, I can already use it. And if I click on play, the software will actually play the animation, which is already a nice thing to play in front of my clients when I'm there with my computer. Or I can actually click here and generate a video file. And the result of the video file depends on the settings. If it's a daytime, you will have a daytime animation. If it's a nighttime, you will have a nighttime animation. I actually already did it, and whenever you create it, the software won't ask you where to save it. It will automatically place it next to your project, so it will be easy to find. So when I click here, I can open that folder, and in that folder, the software automatically visualizes the animation. I didn't literally create it, so it won't appear here, but I actually saved it into a folder which is on my computer. Sorry, here, and it's in the animation folders, and I already generated an exterior daytime animation, which is this. See, this already features other details. Or also, I created the same animation at night scene, different light conditions, and so that was the same. And it is generated literally in minutes. So you don't have to wait a long hours to render an animated video like this.
How about discovering the model? Because so far we created images and animations which keep everything within a frame. But what happens if you want to discover the model itself, want to walk around? And this is increasingly interesting if we want to show our clients everything that they want to see. You can freely discover the model. How do you do that?
Now, we could discover it like this, but this way we just added the model. If you would like to walk through your model, literally exploring your model, you can use the walk mode. There is actually a fly mode, which the difference is only that using the fly mode, you are not attached to the ground. You can just move around
pretty much fly anywhere you want.
But using the fly mode, it gives you a realistic human size exploration mode where you can just use your mouse to turn your head to the left, right. Actually, there's a little hint over there, like a tutorial to let you remember how to use it if you're not get used to this sort of handling. If you don't want to see this message, you can hit the H key to hide it or just bring it back. And as you can see, the WASD controls are the walk forwards, strafe left or right. This actually gives you, and if whenever you right click or hit escape, I just accidentally did that, it will actually help you to escape or just edit the model further because there's something that you wanted to change. So strafe left, right, there and back, and you can also pass through the doors, you can climb the stairs and so on.
So that's how an ARCHLine.XP model becomes an immersive, explorable model. But what happens if we want to import something from another source?
Yeah.
What kind of file formats can we import? That's the question.
Yeah. Well, that happens if you don't have, if you have a model which is not coming from ARCHLine. If you work together with a third-party person using a different design system, and they export a model file for you. In that case, I actually saved this model, but let me just quickly save this once for a while, and then I can just leave it there and I can come back to use it. Now ARCHLine.XP Live itself is using its own file format, so when you save a model into its own format, you can just continue working with that. So coming back to the original topic, I can just go back to the start screen. And yeah, I already saved it, so I can just go with OK, but if I forgot, I just hit cancel and save it. So now I'm in the opening screen, and well, we talked about that option when we have a third-party file, like someone exported the model file for us. So I just click here, and then I select the OBJ file, which I've got from a third-party person, and I click open. And then the software now generated the live file with the surrounding of the sky, sunlight, and all the rest was saved into this OBJ file, all the textures, and now I can start filling it up with materials, effects, and all sorts of details like cars, people, plants, and trees and everything else.
As finishing remarks, can you just load up the last part of the previous project that we looked at? How does it look like when it's actually finished? Because we didn't have the time to cover everything, but we just want to look at how the model looks like when it's actually finalized. So yes, that's the one I'm talking about. That's the one you used for the videos, right?
Yes, that's right. That model is a bit more polished. I added a few more details, ivy, like hedges and things like that. But on the other hand, I just use the same tools. I just kept placing new details, turning on lights, fine tweaking what I had, and literally in a few minutes, like 10 or 15 or even a half an hour, I could create something filled with life. And also, if I just click and drag here, now this is where we started at, with all the nice water surface and this detail here. And the same goes for the entrance here.
That's right.
We actually have that detail we talked about earlier.
So that is basically what we wanted to cover during this presentation on ARCHLine.XP Live. So as you know, this is a new product that we have. If you want to find out more, you can visit our website where you can find out more about the system requirements, and you can procure a trial version which you can use to try how you can make an ARCHLine.XP model come to life.
Yeah, and let me highlight that just as you mentioned, you can download the trial version, and please do it. Try it with your own model. When you come to the question that whether this software will run smooth on my computer or not, that's the best to determine. You just install the trial version and try this connection that we just represented here. On the other hand, if you would like to have a short answer whether it will run, if you purchased a PC, for like a strong PC for your ARCHLine for a long time, very likely it will run smooth on your computer, but try it and send us your visuals. We are very curious to see those.
Thank you very much for listening to us. We'll meet next time when we talk about the other amazing features that ARCHLine.XP Live offers. If you like the video, like it and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you would never miss a show like this one. Until next time, happy designing.
Bye-bye. Goodbye.